We're the ones who live.
Rick Grimes is back, baby, and while he
The original gangster.
He hasn't lost a step. The walker-killing, throat-biting, scowl-giving sheriff's deputy turned zombie survivalist has finally
God, it
returned,
was
and
such
he
a
finally
great
has
show.
to
The Ones
do
Who
what
Live
Rick
was
was
so
up to
good.
That damn helicopter took him away back in
And
season 9.
just seeing
Welcome back
Rick
to
filled
ScreenCrush.
with
I'm
blood,
Ryan.
I don't know
These
why
are
it's so
Easter egg
satisfying.
references and little things you might have missed in the first episode of The Walking Dead, The
71.
Ones Who Live.
So many
Yeah,
Easter
I
eggs.
remember
How?
Okay, first, a little recap. Andrew Lincoln's Rick Grimes was the lead of
Are you
AMC's
gonna-
hit
are you
series The
really
Walking
gonna give
Dead
me
for
so many
almost a decade.
flashbacks?
But in season 9, episode 5, we had to see
Oh, the
goodbye.
grizzled bastard.
Following Rick's attempts to mend the wounds of the war with Negan and bring the surviving saviors into the fold, tempers began to boil, especially with Rick and Michonne's refusal to let Maggie kill Negan. Rick was adamant that
And now
Negan
Maggie and
had to arrive as a
Negan are
symbol of the society that they
working
could
together.
You
So
alive.
different. Such a different world.
It's gonna help show people that things have changed.
Rick was also overseeing the construction of a bridge between their communities and the sanctuary so that they could trade goods. And I
Too
love
bad
the
that
imagery of
bridge
this
ended
because it
up
was a symbol
being
of the
demolished.
metaphorical bridge that Rick was trying to build between these two communities after the war. He was offering an olive branch in hopes of building a better world. But when Maggie is on her way to assassinate Negan at Alexandria, Daryl tricks Rick and takes him on his motorcycle far
Oh
away
yeah, I
from
forgot
Alexandria.
about this. Oh, it's one of the first times that Daryl and Rick fought again
A horde of
since
walkers
season
finds
1.
their
That
way
broke
to
my
the bridge,
heart.
and Rick is forced to shoot
The
these
two
sticks of
brothers.
dynamite and blow the bridge. Rick was thrown into the water and washed up on the shore where he was found by Jadis.
God, I don't like her.
Jadis, also known as Anne, was the leader of the Scouts.
God, I don't
but
like
she was
her.
apparently undercover as a CRM operative. In fact,
God, I
it was
don't like
parade
her
of Rick
at
Grimes who
all.
secured her place in the community. And don't worry, I'm going to explain
Snake.
the CRM here very shortly. Anyway,
Snake.
Jadis finds Rick and identifies him as a B, whereas before she had identified him as an A. But this episode may have shown us why she changed Rick's designation, but more on that in just a bit. And before we get rolling, I want to thank AMC for sponsoring this video. We have been
Wow.
huge fans of The Walking Dead for over a decade, and we are very proud to partner with them to cover this show. The Walking Dead is an important show to me personally, and we love being able to break it down for you every single
one of
week.
the GOATs.
Subscribe to AMC Plus
Walking
and
Dead is
watch
one of the
Walking Dead:
GOATs.
The Ones Who Live by clicking our link in the description to sign up for a free trial.
I'm getting distracted
Terms and
by the
conditions
background
apply. The
DVDs he
destruction of
has.
The bridge symbolized the glue that was Rick Grimes being gone, and our survivors were left to pick up the pieces and decide whether or not they were going to honor the legacy of Rick Grimes. We open with a narration from Rick as he writes a letter, paralleling the scene we see in the Walking Dead series finale, which teased this sequel series.
We are the ones who live.
We're the ones who
Oh my god, I forgot about
A
that.
symbol of strength, a force not to be trifled with. So, when you see him break, you really feel it, such as in the season 7 premiere when Negan breaks Rick.
God, that was this episode. Oh, this
Seeing Rick
episode.
Grimes contemplating taking his own life is
This
almost
was-
antithetical to his character. Rick is the survivalist. I mean, we've seen him look death in the eye many times throughout the years, but every time he walks away stronger than he was before.
I will stay alive to keep them alive.
We've seen Rick almost take his life one other time, and that was in the pilot episode.
Lori, Carl.
حاسة حالي إذا متت معي أمي ما أشوف يعني العذاب هذا والمر هذا.
I'm sorry.
I don't think
Anytime we
he
see a
really
character
contemplated to take his
contemplating
life.
ending at all, we're meant to understand that they're going through a real tough time. But seeing Rick, of all people,
I
reach
say,
this
the
point
ones who
really
live,
shows us right from the
CRM,
start of this episode how
they
dire
broke
the
him like
situation
Negan
must
never
be.
even got
In the
close to
opening credits,
breaking
we can
him.
see the burning bridge that set Rick down this path. We also see helicopters, which have played a major role in The Walking Dead
Frickin'
going all the way back to
helicopters.
season 1. Rick especially has had a connection with helicopters throughout the original series. In the pilot, we saw Rick see a helicopter in the streets of Atlanta.
I remember seeing this. So is this like
The
meant to
same
be like
helicopter was found in season
CRM
2 and
always?
inadvertently led walkers to the
So it
farm.
was always
Years later,
CRM?
during
Is
the
that
war
what
with
it's
Negan,
meant to
Rick
be?
would see a helicopter, foreshadowing his departure.
I
after the
remember.
war. In Rick's fever dream from his final episode, we saw helicopters foreshadowing the CRM. And in season 9, it was of
Fucking
course a helicopter that would
CRM.
take Rick
They've
away.
always
In
been
this
there.
intro, we also see Rick's boots that Michonne found on a boat in season 10. This same boat we saw Rick throw his bag into in the series
Oh,
finale.
that's
And you'll
such a
notice
good
in that scene,
connection.
he was barefoot. We also see in this note a bottle from the series finale's closing scene, as well as these drawings of Michonne and Judith, an old iPhone which Michonne found in season 10 on that same boat when she found out that Rick was still alive. and this is what convinced her to embark on a journey to find him. Next, we get a title screen that reads 5 years after the break.
Yep, I
now,
remember
it's worth
this.
noting that after Rick left the show, we saw a time skip of 6 years. So what we're seeing here is happening before the events of Season 9, Episode 6.
Whoa.
Okay, so now let me explain the Civic Republic military, aka the
I didn't
CRM.
even make
the
the
CRM
connection.
has been mentioned in the Walking Dead original series, Fear the Walking Dead, and the Walking Dead World Beyond. And World Beyond actually gives us a really close-up look of the inner
Oh
workings
yeah, I
of the
remember
CRM.
this.
They're basically a very secretive, tyrannical
Because I
military
didn't
force
watch World
formed
Beyond
not too
enough.
long after
I
the
didn't
world
even
was
finish
taken
that
over
show.
by
I
the
should.
dead. Their three-circle
I
symbol
didn't
was
even
meant
watch
to
Fear the
represent
Walking
the
Dead.
original alliance of the three.
I really
Philadelphia,
should.
Portland, and Omaha.
Early on, the army had found 2 other cities, Portland and Omaha.
I feel sorry for those 2 other
All 3
cities.
cities became an alliance, even though 2 don't know what
A broken alliance.
Here we see Rick with an axe, or as Negan would call it,
Hatchet?
an axe was Rick's weapon of choice in many episodes of the original series, and his axe was almost as iconic and synonymous with Rick as his Colt Python. Rick
Yep.
also used an axe a lot in the Walking Dead graphic novels. And speaking of the comics, we gotta talk about this.
Oh yeah, because his hand is cut off. I didn't even know that this apparently was a comic thing.
Walking Dead, fans speculated if and when Rick would finally lose his hand.
I didn't
It was
even know that
foreshadowed
was a
several times
thing.
throughout the seasons, especially when Negan threatened to make Rick cut off Carl's arm.
That
But
was
in the
such a
comics,
surprise
it was
to
the
me.
governor who took Rick's hand very early on. And here we can even see Rick's arm wrapped in a white bandage, just like in the comics.
That was such a
And can we
surprise.
just take a moment to appreciate the willpower of this man? He cut off his own hand.
Rick
He
Grimes has
cauterized
much
the
more
wound
guts
in a
than
burning
any man
water
in the
bottle.
frickin' world.
Meanwhile, I'm popping Tylenol after moving some boxes around. Next, we see Rick's dream world, a world that never fell and where Rick seemingly isn't himself. Now, this reminded me a lot of Tony's coma dream in The Sopranos. In this coma dream, Tony created
Okay,
a mundane
this is
life for
something
himself
that I
and
have no
even had
idea
a
about.
different name.
Has Kevin Finnerty arrived?
We don't talk like that.
What do you mean?
Your family's in sight.
We're seeing something similar happen with Rick, and I think it's stemming from the severe trauma that he has suffered over the years.
Because
Here,
Rick has
says,
not suffered any trauma, has he?
in a military hospital.
Rick
Here,
has a
I'm
very
at the
calm
hospital of
life.
The pilot, a hospital that had been ravaged by military forces and the dead. We hear Rick mention that they're using walker bodies for energy, a reference to
What?
another Walking Dead spin-off, Negan and Maggie show, Dead City.
I
It's
still
the
haven't
walkers
watched
being
that
used to
full.
create liquid fuel.
That's insane.
Will become our sanctuary.
I need to watch this show, man.
Death in its bones.
When Rick is killing walkers at the gate,
Walking
it
Dead has
appears
much
how they
more
used
shows
the
than
walkers
Star Wars at
next
this
to
rate.
the prison in seasons 3 and 4. Oh, and I love this line.
Should've got you a gift.
Come on, Rick, what the hell are you gonna get me? A scowl?
If there's anything Rick is famous for, it's his stink eye.
Careful. Careful how you're looking at
God,
me,
that
Rick.
feels so long
Earlier,
ago
we talked
now.
about helicopters and their connection to
I
Rick.
miss
So in
Negan.
this episode, when we got to see Rick training to fly helicopters and actually flying them, it was pretty cool. And I'm calling it now.
Just call it.
This series better end with Rick landing his helicopter back home in Alexandria and reuniting with his people.
I know
Next, we
how
got
it
this line
ends.
About how Rick and every survivor cheated death.
We're alive, you are, and you're not supposed to be.
So this echoes back to
No
Rick's
one's supposed to be alive in that
comics
world.
and the show when he says that he and his group are the Walking Dead.
We tell ourselves that we are the Walking Dead.
Oh, such a great moment in the show. Okay,
Such a
Rick's
great fucking
implication
line.
was that he and his group were living on borrowed time. And that
They're
their
all
survival
living
at
on
any
borrowed
cost was
time.
their #1 goal. But as we discussed in our recap video leading up to the release of this series, Michonne disputed Rick's idea of what it means to survive.
It's a chance. Instead of just being out here. Instead of just making it. Because right now, this is what making it looks like.
That line from season 5 pointed out the difference between surviving and living.
Brother, man. Oh my god. You need to put in chapters because you're going way too fast. Oh my god, my brain is feeling so... its pistons are going on double time. Fucking breathe, man. Jeez. Oh my god, I'm trying to process it all. Go.
The difference between the Walking Dead and the ones who live.
He said it! He said it!
Okay, so in like seasons 7, 8, and 9 of the original series, we heard a lot of talk about A's and B's, primarily from Jadis.
I still don't like her so much.
Well, here we are years later, and now we finally have our answer to what the freaking letters actually mean.
It is freaking impressive how they built so much from the past.
A's have a strength. A's will die for what they believe in. The people we cross in the world, the few we bring in, they're classified as B's. Everyday people who are just trying to survive.
A's
This
are
explains
leaders,
why Jada's
B's
called
are
Rick an A to
pawns.
begin with, and why she called him a B later on.
CRM
He
never
had
want
a respect
A's
for
because
Rick.
they don't want
She
people
knew
to
if she called
challenge
him
them,
an
so
A,
they just
he'd
get
be
B's
killed,
in.
I guess, for being
People they can
respectful to
control.
CRM. But by calling Rick a B, she guaranteed his safety, well after he made it perfectly clear that he was no B.
I have a B, not an A. I never had an A. He's hurt, but he's strong. Can you help him?
When Rick's loyalty is questioned by Major General Beale, Rick says for the general to look in his eyes for the truth. Another callback to always being able to tell what Rick was thinking by that look in his eye. During Rick's attempt to escape on the mission at the chemical plant, we see the return of the grenade. Now in season 1 of The Walking Dead, Rick takes the grenade off this dead soldier. That grenade is later used to help Rick and the group escape the CDC.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. Oh shit. He was so worried. He was so scared. God, this feels like a lifetime ago.
Return of a grenade to help Rick
Yeah, but this
escape.
time he was a
Season
skilled
1
warrior.
Dr. Jenner thought that he knew what was best for Rick and his family. He made that choice for them, that they would stay there with him and die. But Rick convinces Jenner that they deserve a chance, and this parallels the theme of choice and freedom that we hear discussed in this episode.
They put me on a leash when we went out into the world. I couldn't get away. I couldn't get back to you.
That's such a cool connection.
Trapped. You think I went what I went through? Did what I did to let anyone?
That's such a good freaking connection.
People can't leave. They're not free.
And now, here we are, all these years later, and it's Rick Grimes as the soldier. And he's yet again opting to use a grenade to help him escape the clutches of somebody who is seeking to control his future. This little girl Rick encounters also reminded me
Oh,
of the
poor
pilot
little
episode
girl.
where Rick
Oh
encounters
yeah,
this
it's so
little girl.
freaking true. This girl was so legendary for so long. She was the
Next,
first
we
like
hear Okafor
fudged
mention
up
Rick's note in his
walker
bottle,
ever.
Escape attempt number 3. The same escape scene that we saw in the
Who
finale
knows
of
where
The
she
Walking
ended
Dead.
up?
I think of the dead.
I wonder if the actress still like works.
I think of the dead all the time.
So, Okafor learns about Michonne and Judith after finding Rick's letter. But there's no mention of Rick and Michonne's son, RJ.
Because he
And that's
didn't
because
know.
Rick has no idea that
Yeah,
he has a
exactly.
son. RJ wasn't born until after Rick was taken.
And my dad?
And I want to really quickly take an opportunity to say how great it is to hear Rick Grimes throwing the F-bomb around.
Oh, and he used it. Pretty.
No.
In
Pretty.
The Walking Dead Season 4
Really?
finale, we got this great moment from Rick.
The wrong people.
But they changed it to this for the broadcast version.
They're screwing with the wrong people.
It's the
Hit me really
PG
hard without
version.
The F-bomb. And I'm sure that there's a broadcast cut without the F-bomb for the AMC channel, but now that AMC also has AMC Plus, we also can get Rick Grimes in all his F-bomb glory. Now, speaking of bombs, next we learned that it was Okafor who was part of the squads that bombed Atlanta and Los Angeles.
This was such a good scene.
Los Angeles.
The
In the
emotion
original Walking Dead
Okafor
series, we
spoke
saw
was so
Atlanta get
freaking
bombed.
good.
But this LA bombing
So
was a reference
freaking
to
good.
the Fear the Walking Dead series, which early on took place in LA. Now, when we saw Rick dreaming about this house on fire, I thought he was dreaming about Alexandria being destroyed after Okafor threatened to kill everybody he loved if Rick ever went back. But, as we find out later, this was actually Rick's childhood home, and it was his father who started the fire in an attempt to save them from financial disaster. This is one of the very few times we've heard Rick talk about his childhood or his father. In fact, the only other time I can think of is this moment from season 2.
I wish I had something better to say, something more profound. My father was good like that.
So now we're caught back up with where the episode started, Rick contemplating taking his own life. We hear Rick say how if he were to die, there'd be nothing after. This is a reminder that Rick was never a religious man, a callback to his conversation with Herschel on faith.
Last time I asked God for a favor and
Herschel!
my son got shot.
Oh, I missed Herschel.
So guys, while watching this episode, it kind of dawned on me that Rick hasn't been gone a year, not 2 years, not 3 years, but 5 years. And while a bond like the one he and Michonne hold is really hard to break, I did kind of start to wonder when Rick would accept that he wasn't going to see his family again. And then, that moment came.
This scene hurt so much. This scene hurt so much. Why did he have to burn them,
Rick
destroy
reveals
them?
he no longer sees the faces of those
Why
he left
couldn't he
behind.
hide
This
them
is a
somewhere,
reference to his letter
stash
to
them
the third
away?
escape when he said that he saw them every day.
I think of the dead all the time. Their faces,
I don't see the dead anymore.
Yeah, that's
Rick
when you
has reached
give
the
up,
point where they
when
are
you can't
beginning to
imagine
fade.
the
Despite his
future
efforts
anymore.
not to, he has started to move on. But then we cut to the present day after the events of The Walking Dead's final season and after this shot of Michonne in the finale. There was a lot of speculation as to what Michonne was doing here in this new attire, and I think we're going to learn more about the group Michonne has been traveling with in the upcoming episodes, the group that just brought down these CRM copters. Rick and Michonne are reunited at last, and I gotta say I was a little surprised the two have been reunited in the first episode. I didn't think we'd
That's
see
what
them
I
until,
loved.
like, halfway through the season.
No, I
thought
love that they were
this
reunited
would be about
immediately.
Rick
It
and
was
Michonne
so
finding
freaking
each
good.
other. But with their reunion
I was
now
worried they
already
would wait
happened,
until like
I
the
am very
last
excited to
last
see
two
what this season
episodes.
has in
I
store
love
for
that they
us.
did it
And I think
immediately.
these characters will use their combined strength to escape the clutches of the CRM and to get back home. So guys, there's our breakdown for the season premiere of The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live. Big shout out to the writer of this video, Mr. Colton Ogburn, the guy who's trapped eternally in our television but doesn't know it, so please don't tell him. You can find his Twitter link below.